I'm Keith Poletiek, the preteen program director for Angeles Crest Christian Camp, and I get the wonderful privilege of preparing summer and winter camps for 3rd through 6th graders every year. And it's an incredible place, Angeles Crest. As you saw in that intro, there's lots of fun and there's lots of friendship that can happen, and it's a faithful camp. For 75 years, this camp has been centered around God and around Jesus and salvation and the Spirit to lead them and a Bible to teach them. And it's been the center point of all we do when we prepare a place. And I know that that can be a fearful place to send a kid to. I know there's kind of a fear of the unknown. So I'd like to take some time right now to introduce you to Angeles Crest. We're about 1/4 of a mile from going in the entrance to the camp, and you can see some buildings up there and that's our camp. Basically, we sit by ourselves in a safe environment with a culture centered around God. You see, this is the entrance to camp. And for 75 years, the culture from this point on has never changed. This culture changes, and it's done some changing lately that might have you apprehensive or fearful about where to send your little one. But this culture here, Angeles Crest Christian Camp, 75 years of consistently centering itself around God, Jesus, and the gospel. Thousands of kids deciding to choose Jesus as the Lord of their life right here. Hundreds of people deciding to go into ministry because of this camp. And so I want to take away some of that fear of the unknown and introduce you to the camp. I call it God's Mountain, and it's just waiting for kids to come here. But we don't send one bus or van up here, one camper on the property, until I know and we know it's a safe place for them to be. You know, there's this great scripture in 1 Corinthians where Paul tells the church to prepare the place for young Timothy because he's going to be showing up, and they want him to have nothing to fear. I tend to think of every little camper as a young Timothy. And we want to prepare this place so when they show up, they have nothing to fear. And I want you to have nothing to fear, that we have prepared the place long before these young Timothys show up. David calls them in the Bible arrows. And where are we aiming them? And are we leaving them in the quiver? Or maybe it's time to trust God and turn them loose and see where they land, see where they soar, let them fly, put them in God's hands. Maybe we hit the bullseye. You know, Jesus told his disciples right before he left to fear not, for he'd be with them always. And you know, when I start thinking about those ways to help instill more trust in you, the first one that comes to mind is an easy one, and that's to talk with your children's pastors or leaders, the ones that take care of your kids you've entrusted them with for 52 weeks out of the year. They're the ones making the decision on the camp and whether it's safe enough for your kid. In the same way, you can send them in every Sunday into a classroom and know they're safe. We are working to make that happen here. So you fear not, and we'll throw in the fun and the friendship.
Hi, I'm Dave Krause. I'm the Executive Director for Angeles Crest Christian Camp. I'm also the father of 4, grandfather to 7 with 1 on the way, so that'd be number 8. I know that your kids are important to you. The kids that come to camp are important to us, and safety is something that we take very seriously, and I know is very, very important to you as a parent. One of the greatest things I get to do is to work with staff. We have a lot of staff actually who are former campers who come back later on to work as our staff. One of the most important things for us is to make sure they're vetted, make sure that they're trained, make sure that they love kids. And so we have a process that we go to vet those staff members to make sure they're taking care of your kids, they love your kids, they're watching for the safety of your kids. So we just want you to know that your kids are important to us. We can't wait for them to have a great time at Angeles Crest, and also that their life is going to be changed by coming up to camp.
And let me tell you, when I see a kid maybe apprehensive at the bottom of this rock wall, with the encouragement of our staff, make it up to the top and ring that bell, I see faces change. I see life change. And it's all worthwhile when I see that kid accomplish something that he thought he never could do because of the encouragement of our staff. So here's a cabin, come on in. And you may not know this, but this isn't just a cabin. This becomes your church's cabin. Your church kids are in here, your leaders. This is where they stay the entire time they're here. Centralized to the nurses station, where we have a nurse or licensed caregiver there 24/7, and we're set up communication-wise to reach medical facilities down the hill at a moment's notice. Everything in place, everything done so that your kids can feel safe and you can know they're in an environment around the people you know that your group is vetted that you would have them here with. You know, the mission statement for Angeles Crest Christian Camp is to see lives change for Jesus Christ by providing great mountaintop experiences with an eternal impact. There's a lot of impact that goes on up here for the kids, in friends, their life, their future, but we go for eternal. We want it to be lasting. We want to create memories that stay with them so they call on Jesus in those rough times of life. And that happens more and more when we get them up here. I hope and pray and you can consider taking apprehension and moving it over to trust. If I could amend our mission statement, it would be an eternal impact in the safest place I could provide for your son or daughter. Hey, you want a microcosm of what it means when we say safety first here at Angeles Crest Christian Camp? It's this baby right here. This is our zip line, easily the most popular event at the camp, and the one we scrutinize the most when it comes to safety. Every board, every bolt, every cable, every carabiner, every rope, every harness, every helmet, completely checked every year by a certified professional who comes up here and won't let one camper step on this platform unless everything is safe. He kind of has the same mentality I like to have about the whole camp, and I don't want any campers coming in here till we know for sure that everything here is safe. So you can know, just as our sign says over here, you can fear not, because we put in the time to make sure that the mentality of how safe this needs to be echoes throughout the whole camp. I know I showed you in the beginning that shot of the camp from a distance sitting up on that little crest. And here it can look a little more spread out with, dining halls here, chapels here, pools here, but that's at ground level. You see, if you look at it from a bird's eye view, or what I like to call God's eye view, you can see that it forms its own natural little boundaries from behind the pool to behind the chapel, the furthest cabin, down to archery. You could almost draw a line, a rectangle, and every kid knows that that's the safe zone, that that's where you go. And we have them travel in groups of 3, not 2, not 1, 3 wherever they go, and with a leader, just to add to the safety. And we're 30 miles from anything. I like to tell people we're 30 miles from anything but God. And there are times in your kid's life when they need to be 30 miles from the distractions, 30 miles from that culture, 30 miles from anything but God. And that's Angeles Crest Christian Camp.